I'd like to welcome you for this program headed out to the USS Arizona Memorial. You're with me here for just a couple of minutes yet before you go out on this 9:30 boat. Really what my job is before that happens is to kind of set the expectation. Could I get a show of hands, please? How many of you have been to the Arizona Memorial before? All right, a handful of you. And the rest of you visiting for the first time, let's see those hands. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. One of the questions that we get pretty regularly here at the Pearl Harbor National Memorial is, what makes the Arizona so special? Why is it the battleship that has its very own memorial to it? Well, to answer that question, I just ask us to all think back 82 years ago now to the events of December 7th, 1941, and I'd just briefly like to remind you of the final moments on board. For the men of the Arizona, they'd woken to a beautiful Sunday morning until shortly before 8 a.m., Imperial Japanese aircraft filled the skies. Some of these aircraft were dropping torpedoes, others were strafing with machine guns, and others were high-altitude bombers dropping large armor-piercing bombs from heights of almost 10,000 feet in the air. And that is what struck the Arizona. The first bomb fell on her deck at 8:05, a second fatal blow at 8:06. By that point, the attack had only been going on for about 10 minutes, but that's all that most of these men lived to see, because that second bomb, dropped from 10,000 feet in the air, struck the forward magazine. Stored there, in that forward munitions magazine, was more than 1 million pounds of gunpowder. When that bomb detonated, all of that ignited with it, and the battleship exploded beneath these men's feet. Hundreds of lives would have been lost instantaneously in an enormous fireball that at its center was greater than 8,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The concussive force of the blast alone knocked men off their feet within a half-mile radius. Those fires continued burning another 2.5 days after the attack. And what this meant for the crew of 1,512 men stationed on board was the loss of life of 1,177 sailors and Marines. It left just an initial 335 survivors, of which one is still living to this day. Mr. Lou Conter is 102 years old. But for hundreds of his shipmates who did not survive the attack, after the force of that blast and the heat of those fires, their remains were never able to be recovered. And as such, this is the final resting place of more than 900 of these men. With that in mind, I just ask that you remember, this is a memorial as well as a grave site, and not a tourist attraction. So please, while at the memorial, visit with the same respect that you would a national cemetery. So visiting with quiet voices and silent phones. This is not only a sign of respect to our fallen service members, but the experience of your fellow visitor as well. You never quite know who's in this group with you. You don't know what emotions your neighbor might be feeling or what connection they may have to any of the hundreds of names on the wall of the shrine room, or any of the thousands of individuals who lived to witness the horror of that day. Here, we will remember Pearl Harbor, but that is not for the sentiment of revenge. Rather, we will remember and honor not only the sacrifice of these men, but the many that would follow in the years to come, regardless of nationality or origin. Because 82 years later, this is a site of peace and reconciliation that we as Rangers are absolutely humbled to share with you. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you for coming out to pay your respects. Again, I just ask that you remember quiet voices and silent phones at the memorial. But if you do have any questions, the ranger out there will be happy to answer those for you. Now at this time, there will be ramp access from the door at the top for those who may need it. Otherwise, if you would please exit with me through the doors here at the bottom. We'll proceed out to your waiting Navy vessel. Thank you and mahalo.
This way?
This way is the cold one. That way is
For
the
what?
Cold one, warm one.
Oh, wow. Where is first one? Thank you.
fish?
Guys in a fish?
One and flown over KTG. We encountered Paramount Flat, and our mission was to drop 500 pound on a radio station from KTG. About 2/3 of the way down, I felt this whole plane jolt forward, and soon it was a lot of smoke up on the wings of the plane. After I put out, and you could see the wing plane going down with the wings folded. Yeah, I knew I was in serious trouble. I saw that I couldn't possibly fly this plane back to the ship, and it was all happening very fast. I made an exit from the plane, dove out onto the wing, did it very badly. I pulled the ripcord too soon. I hit my head on the tail. I was unstabilized with the DBS, and lancing blow like this and bleeding like a stuffed pig, and the parachute momentarily hung up on the tail of the plane and ripped out some of the